Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Quote, there is a cult of ignorance in the United States, and there has always been. The strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge. That is a quote from the great science fiction author Isaac Asimov. And I don't think that there is any other quote that encapsulates this moment in American history better than this. I imagine that when Asimov wrote this, he probably thought it was as bad as it could get in terms of the level of ignorance in this country, and that ignorance being propped up next to science, next to fact, next to reason and rationality. Ignorance is permitted, not only permitted, but it is demanded. The political reality of America right now is that we allow ignorance to reign next to fact. The prevailing force for this ignorance, without question, there is no false equivalence here. There is no need to even compare. What the conservative movement is doing to America is the absolute dumbing down of America because it is necessary. This level of ignorance is necessary to maintain their ideology. You might be wondering, well, Ben, what are you talking about? Allow me to play. It's not just, it is political, but it is also a matter of life and death now. The city of West Palm Beach, Florida, yesterday issued an order for everyone to wear a mask. Because if everyone wears a mask, we can significantly reduce the number of transmissions and infections from COVID-19. And on a day yesterday where we saw we broke the record for a single day, we broke the record for the number of new infections. The reaction from conservatives, the reaction from people who probably don't even consider themselves conservatives, but they most certainly fall within the purview of conservative ignorance that is necessary, right? They probably think that they're apolitical. They think that they're just doing it for Christ and Jesus and religion and whatever else. But at the end of the day, they fall right neatly dead smack in the middle of the conservative ideology, and it is a cult of ignorance. I want you to listen to this audio it's a compilation of speakers at a city hall meeting yesterday. This is their reaction. I want you to listen and consider that this is their reaction to being required to wear masks, which will reduce the number of transmissions, the number of infections of COVID-19, which is killing. I know you know this, but I just got to put it on the record. It has already killed over 125,000 people in 4 months. This is the reaction. Listen in.
You literally cannot mandate somebody to wear a mask knowing that that mask is killing people. It literally is killing people. And we the people are waking up, and we know what citizen's arrest is because citizen's arrests are already happening. Okay? And every single one of you that are obeying the devil's laws are going to be arrested. And you, doctor, are going to be arrested for crimes against humanity.
The problem with humanity today is ignorance, arrogance, and apathy. Keep taking the road of least resistance. Keep listening to the TV brainwashing you from birth.
And they want to throw God's wonderful breathing system out the door. You're all turning your backs on it.
I really have many question marks about your degrees and what you really know. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't think that you are worthy of your credentials. And I would ask suggestively that you go back to school and get educated.
There is a cult of ignorance in the United States, and there has always been. The strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge. Isaac Asimov. I think we're afraid of telling people that they're just dumb as hell. I think that's what it is. I think that we have gotten I hate this phrase, and I hate the way I have to use this phrase, but it's true. We've gotten so politically correct that we've just stopped telling people that, I'm sorry, ma'am, you're just stupid as shit. You are just dumb as hell, and you should be ashamed of coming in public and showing your face because you are that absolutely brain dead stupid. We're afraid of telling people that because everyone has a right to say whatever they want to say. And then if we call something what it is, which is the absolute bottom of the barrel of ignorance, if we call it what it is, then everyone gets offended. Everyone gets offended. People who know, what these people said, how ignorant it is. And the problem is that it is not ignorance in isolation. You have the right to be ignorant in isolation, fine. If you want to go into your corner and put on your tinfoil hat and believe that wearing a mask is killing people, if that's what you want to believe in isolation, then so be it. But it has been weaponized. The ignorance has been weaponized, and it has been itself turned into a contagion, a pathogen that has been spread through the internet. The dummies of the world have found each other on the internet, and they have coalesced and created an entire movement upon which somebody like Donald Trump has been able to capitalize. It's one thing to fall prey to conspiracy theories and someone's ignorance, someone preaching, teaching, whatever, manipulating you. That's one thing. But what we have and what we've been living in a long time is the ability for people, charlatans who know better, to capitalize on it, to weaponize it politically, from the Alex Jones of the world to the Donald Trumps of the world. They capitalize on it because it is a way for them to make money and to gain political power. Ignorance is a path to political and economic power for those who are willing to completely destroy reason and rationality, good faith, genuine arguments. The path, anyone who's willing to just completely put aside the need for us to be able to look at the sky and say that the sky is blue and that the grass is green and that up is up and down is down. For anyone who's willing to manipulate that, there have always been people who are ignorant enough to buy it. And this is what I talk about in the Patrons episode all the time. The problem is the problem is that you could use your power of persuasion. You can use your ability to communicate. You could use your oratorical skills to manipulate people for your own political and economic gain, which tends to lead to this type of ignorance, this weaponized ignorance. I could just as soon turn my entire platform. I could have spent the last 5 years of my life building a platform using my power of persuasion to convince people that masks kill you. I could have used my skill set to weaponize ignorance in a way that they would believe anything that I said. And the fundamental problem that we're facing right now that is far deeper than anything else, it is the power behind the Trump. It is the power behind Trumpism. The power behind Trumpism is weaponized ignorance. It is the shameless use of skills of persuasion, of communication skills, propaganda. It is the shameless use of manipulation to distort the thinking of people who otherwise, if they saw a reasoned and rational argument, the natural conclusion would lead to, it is in the best interest for everyone to wear a mask. Do you see where we are? I'm not even talking about economic policy. I'm not talking about social policy. I'm not talking about a woman's right to choose. I'm not talking about LGBTQ rights or the right to. We're talking about something so fundamental that we are at a stage of ignorance in this country where we have a percentage of the population that refuse to wear masks because they, one, either feel like it is going to kill them, or two, they feel like it is unpatriotic, or three, they feel like it's some Chinese way of taking over America. During a pandemic, where we could open up the economy to a certain extent if we could get 100% participation in wear, or even 75, 90% participation in wearing masks. Look at the veil of, no, I can't use that phrase. I was going to say the veil of ignorance, but that phrase is too important, from John Rawls in his book, The Theory of Justice. I suggest that you read it. But it is a veil. How can I name it? It is a veil of stupidity. Okay, so the veil of ignorance is actually a great suggestion. I think you should read it. But there is a veil of stupidity that has been weaponized, that has been lowered onto America, and is the same stupidity that made Ted Cruz get on radio and argue that because his parents were engineers, that gave him the ability to comment on the science and the data behind climate change, and to reject the consensus from over 97% of all scientists. That is the veil of stupidity. That is the weaponization of ignorance. That is where we are in this country, and it is so poisonous, and it is so deadly in this moment of coronavirus that it's going to get people killed. I can't let this go yet, and I'm sorry, but I need to impress upon you the urgency of us completely. We have to obliterate this level of stupidity that is permitted in our discourse, and allow to take a position next to actual data and facts. It is a fact that if we start wearing masks in significant numbers, at very high percentages of numbers, that we can significantly reduce the spread of COVID-19. It is a fact that if most people wear masks, then we can save lives. That is a scientific fact. And what we have in this country is the ability of people, and this is, let me go a little bit deeper in it. The problem is the democratization of information. Okay, the very thing that gives you the ability to listen to me gives them the ability to listen to someone who would manipulate them and distort and prey upon. It is, people are so eager and willing to prey upon the level of ignorance that, quite honestly, the potential for ignorance resides in every single one of us. It resides in us in different places. Right? You may not be ignorant when it comes to, you may not be intentionally obtuse when it comes to climate change, or when it comes to wearing a freaking mask, right? But there's an intersection of your life where if someone said the right combination of words, they could prey on you're vulnerable, basically. You could be vulnerable to this, right? Give you an example. Some of you are with me 100%. You agree that it is a veil of ignorance. No, I got to be careful. It is a veil of stupidity. It is a level of ignorance. It is weaponized ignorance. You agree that wearing masks is like the least, it is the easiest barrier for us to overcome, for us to be able to save lives. It is the easiest thing to ask of us. You agree with me there. You probably also agree with me on climate change, right? But if we start having a conversation about vaccines, people start that is a place that people are vulnerable, because you have so many people who still refuse to get their kids vaccinated. But I'll leave that alone. because I'm not talking about that today and I don't feel like having that fight. But there's a place where every single human being can be vulnerable. Nobody is above being manipulated. Nobody is above being taken advantage of because of a weakness that we have for whatever reason, whether it be how we grew up, whether it be some things that we heard, whether it be something that we learned through religion, whether it be something we learned through our friends, whatever it could be, a misunderstanding, a misinterpretation. We have all have places where we could be vulnerable. The problem with the democratization of information is that people are free to create entire platforms off of misinformation. They are free, and I'm not regretting this. I'm not saying that we should get rid of this. I'm just saying we have to call it for what it is, right? The more information out there, the more platforms that are out there that allow people it allows people to create entire communities of stupidity. We have entire communities of pure stupidity that is allowed because it is their constitutional right in this democracy to talk about and commune and to converse about the stupid things that are in their heads. And they create entire communities where it becomes a self-reinforcing echo chamber. And because if you listen to those people, the people that I played in the clip, those it was 4 different women. If you listen to them, we listen to them and we think, wow, they have to be some of the stupidest people I've ever seen in our goddamn lives. But when they go back to their community, they're given a high five. They're saying, oh, you did so good. You're so brave. You're so brave. I don't know if I could have that kind of bravery. Thank you for your service. Your service to stupidity. That's the problem. Is that not only do we have weaponized ignorance, but we have communities of stupidity. And there's really nothing we could do about it because it is their right. And we don't want to, and we can't, and we shouldn't take that right away from them because then they would be taken from us. So what do we do in the marketplace of ideas when weaponized ignorance and communities of stupidity threaten everybody? Right? Because that's where we are. We are at the stage of this pandemic that we don't even know who's infected. It would be different if you were only infectious when you showed symptoms. But some of those women that spoke on that clip that I played, they all looked healthy and they could very well have spread the virus. So what do we do when people like Alex Jones and Donald Trump? Alex Jones has made he's still out there. He is still making millions of dollars because he has galvanized an entire community of ignorance, of stupidity. And Donald Trump has weaponized it and capitalized on it, and it took him all the way to the White House. It wasn't just the bigotry, it was the stupidity. And so we gotta recognize what the score is. We have to understand what we are up against. And we absolutely cannot permit. We very well may have to allow these communities to be online and to gather amongst themselves and to communicate. And we can't stop the communities of stupidity from forming. We can't stop it without violating their constitutional rights. And if we violate their constitutional rights, then we put our own rights at risk. But you know what we don't have to put up with? We do not have to put up with elected officials preying on it and using it for political power. And we don't have to allow someone who is not a scientist to speak as an authority against scientific consensus. We do not have to allow, and at some point, we have to just stop trying to play nice with people because, oh, this is a democracy and this is their right. No. Somebody should have called them stupid yesterday. Somebody else, maybe not a politician, somebody from the audience should have got up and said, you all sound like absolute effing morons. And to any political figure who actually enables this, we have to go after them like any. It is so important. We have to go after them with everything that we possibly have. We have to crush them. I'm going to give you an example after this music of an event in American history that showed a level of stupidity that after it was successfully shamed, it went back to the dregs of society. And I'm sorry, I'm all for this stupidity that has been weaponized and that is threatening people's lives, that is contributing to the spread of COVID-19. It needs to be relegated to the dregs of society. They need to be ashamed of coming out. Sure, have your community, but don't show your face in public if you're going to be such a fucking moron. What we need in America is another Scopes trial. The 1925 trial between Christian fundamentalism and intellectual thought. Scopes was a school teacher who was being tried for teaching Darwin's theory of evolution in school, and he was going to be fined. The penalty was a fine of $100 back then, which is a lot of money back then. It became a big spectacle, and the trial itself became a flashpoint across the entire world because of some of the major players that were involved. I believe one was a former candidate for president, even. And in that trial, the flashpoint in the actual trial itself was when the level of ignorance that was required to maintain a fundamentalist worldview was exposed. Now, I'm not doing it justice, but this is not a podcast about history. I just gotta have to give you the cliff notes. You can go Google it and look it up yourself. There's a great clip from. I'll do you this solid. I will include the clip of the 2-minute version from the History Channel. I will include that link in the description today. Go look at it. The result of that trial was Scopes actually lost. The school teacher lost, and he had to pay the fine. He didn't care. He paid the fine because ultimately what was shown to the rest of the world was the level of ignorance that was required to maintain the fundamentalist worldview. There's nothing wrong with I'm a Christian, right? There's nothing wrong with religion. But when you delve into fundamentalism and you seek to enforce more important than your own fundamental, you can be a fundamentalist. But it's when you try to force your fundamentalism on other people. Matter of fact, Isaac Asimov, who I started off with a quote with, he actually had something profound to say about fundamentalism. Listen.
And my objection to fundamentalism is not that they are fundamentalists, but that essentially they want me to be a fundamentalist too.
So fine, if you want to be a fundamentalist, that's your prerogative. But what we saw in the Scopes trial, and I'll bring it back to what we're talking about in terms of what we saw in Florida yesterday. But in the Scopes trial, it was a flashpoint because it represented a shift from fundamentalism having the complete control. I mean, the legal control, right? He was being sued. He was being charged with teaching heretical statements. He was charged with teaching science in school because that science contradicted what the Bible said. The purest form of fundamentalism was enshrined in our judicial system. And so the reason I say we need another Scopes trial is because the result of it, even though the teacher lost, he won on appeal, but that was not the important part. The important part was the amount of ignorance that was shown to the world was so repugnant that fundamentalists had to go back into their caves. That's what we need with this level of stupidity that we're facing in America right now.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and get twice the content and unfiltered interviews without any of the commercial interruptions.
And here we go. At this point in every single episode, I'd like to take a second to thank the people who make this show possible, our patrons. Very special welcome to Cole Curtright. Thank you for becoming a patron. Ramona Luna, Marcy Shapiro, Daisy Laborde, Bobby Rethwish, Gene Ricks, Shirin El Kashari, Eric Summers. Everybody just bob your head. Jesse, thank you for becoming a patron. Bertree, thank you for becoming a patron. And Austin Pina, thank you for becoming a patron. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to patreon.com/the BPD show, where you get twice the content, none of the commercial interruptions, and you give me the ability to speak truth to power, whether the powerful like it or not. Yeah.
Welcome back to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at thebenjamindixonshow.com.
Yep. All right, let's go. All right, so I just feel like we are in a culture of ignorance. We are in a culture of weaponized ignorance. And there is a veil of stupidity that has been lowered across America, and we are at the stage where it is a life-threatening issue. It's no longer just cute, oh, we have difference of opinions. It's not, no, we're talking about these people are literally spreading the coronavirus because they refuse to wear a doggone mask. And the reason they won't wear masks is because somewhere they heard somebody sent I'm so tired of these viral email threads. Somebody forwarded them a clip of someone saying something that to them sounded revolutionary. It sounded like, that sounds right. Here's the problem, and I've talked about it on the show before, but I'll talk about it again. It's a false epiphany. It is a false epiphany. It is a moment because a lot of us in America, we are so inundated with just trying to survive. We're so consumed with survival and school and work and paycheck to paycheck. We are really in a bad situation where we don't get a chance to explore anything intellectual, and we don't get a chance to explore our own selves, our own thinking, our own mind, our own consciousness. And so what happens is when somebody forwards a viral thread that talks about how these masks are going to kill people and how the government is going to track everybody and give us the mark of the beast with this new vaccine. For people who have never been in this hand-to-hand combat of information and misinformation, for people who've never had an epiphany of their own, they receive that thing like it is a revelation to them. People, I'm trying to describe it in a way that you can see how difficult the fight is, right? When you have this epiphanic moment, an epiphany, it gives off this sensation in your brain, like your brain is waking up. It stimulates your brain. It's like, wow, it literally feels like a light went off in your head. And what people like Alex Jones, who I think is probably the crown jewel of misinformation and demagoguery, when he does that and he uses his tools of manipulation and propaganda for his own personal economic and political ends, what he's doing for people who may never have had another source of an epiphany, they've just been working and they've been focusing on life, and all they've been going in their 9 to 5, 10 to 6. They've been so busy, they finally listen to somebody and they hear Alex Jones, or they get that viral email thread and they start thinking about it and they're like, whoa. Wow, this all makes sense. It all makes sense that the government is going to use the vaccine to give us the mark of the beast. And it becomes a moment of a false epiphany, and that thing locks in on their brain and it changes their lives, and they become a member of good standing in the community of stupidity. This is not to mock them. This is not a funny thing. This is a dangerous thing. This is a matter of life and death now. This is literally a matter of life and death now. And we have to be able to connect the ties that go from just the misinformation from vultures like Alex Jones all the way to the political manipulations from somebody like Donald Trump. The reason he won't wear a mask is because he cannot mess up the political capital that he has with all of the people who are running around spreading these conspiracy theories. He knows that that is a huge part of his voting base. And so he won't wear a mask in public. And so now we are at a critical juncture in American history where we've already seen 125,000 people die, and the uptick in the number of cases, it has gone up astronomically. We are facing, this isn't even the second wave. I want people to understand we're not technically in a second wave. We're just in the second part of the first wave. Everyone keeps trying to rush this along like it's something that's going to end overnight, right? But this is the second part of the first wave. And we're at that point, we're at the point where so many more people could die. We've already seen 125,000 people die. We could see another 125,000 people die in the next 2-3 months. And a big part of it is the fact that people are refusing to wear a mask because they heard somewhere that it will kill them. And they can't wear a mask for medical reasons. And they can't wear a mask for political reasons. They can't wear masks because it is anti-patriotic, it's un-American. And all of these tremendously ignorant and just infantile, fatuous, stupid ideas have been inserted into the discourse for political and economic power and gain. There are people who are making money off of spreading these lies. It is always lucrative. You can always make money off of spreading lies. So what do? Well, shit, I don't know. All I know is that we could just all I know is that we got to call a thing a thing. It is the height of stupidity. It is weaponized ignorance. It is propaganda that is going to get people killed. And that's my time, patrons. I got a lot more to say. Patreon.com/the BPD show. If not, thank you for being a beautiful audience. I will see everyone else tomorrow.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/the BPD show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.